what love is. On the spiritual path, there's nothing to get, and everything to get rid of. The first thing to let go of is trying to get love, and instead to give it wholeheartedly. Most people are under the impression that they can think out their lives. But that's a misconception. We are subject to our emotions and think in ways based on our emotions. So it's extremely important to do something about our emotions. In the same way as the Buddha gave us the 4 supreme efforts for the mind, he also outlined the 4 emotions for the heart. The 4 supreme efforts for the mind are not to let an unwholesome thought arise, which has not yet arisen, not to let an unwholesome thought continue, which has already arisen, to make a wholesome thought arise, which has not yet arisen, to make a wholesome thought continue, which has already arisen. The 4 emotions, loving-kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, joy with others, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha, are called the divine abodes. When we have perfected these 4, we have heaven on earth, paradise in our own heart. I think everybody knows that above us is the sky and not heaven. We have heaven and hell within us, and can experience this quite easily. So even without having complete concentration, in meditation and profound insights, the 4 divine abidings, or supreme emotions, enable us to live on a level of truth and lovingness, security, and certainty, which gives life a totally different quality. When we are able to arouse love in our hearts without any cause, just because love is the heart's quality, we feel secure. It is impossible to buy security, even though many people would like to do so. Insurance companies have the largest buildings, because people try to buy security. But when we create certainty within, through a loving heart, we feel assured that our reactions and feelings are not going to be detrimental to our own or other people's happiness. Many fears will vanish. Metta, the first of the supreme emotions, is usually translated as loving-kindness. But loving-kindness doesn't have the same impact in English that the word love has, which carries a lot of meaning for us. We have many ideas about love. The most profound thought we have about love, which is propagated in novels, movies, and billboards, is the idea that love exists between 2 people who are utterly compatible, usually young and pretty, and who for some odd reason have a chemical attraction toward each other, none of which can last. Most people find out during the course of their lifetime that this is a myth, that it doesn't work that way. Most people then think it's their own fault, or the other person's fault, or the fault of both, and they try a new relationship. After the 3rd, 4th, or 5th try, they might know better, but a lot of people are still trying. That's usually what's called love in our society. In reality, love is a quality of our heart. The heart has no other function. If we were aware that we all contain love within us, and that we can foster and develop it, we would certainly give that far more attention than we do. In all developed societies, there are institutions to foster the expansion of the mind, from the age of 3 until death. But we don't have any institutions to develop the heart, so we have to do it ourselves. Most people are either waiting for or relating to the one person who makes it possible for them to feel love at last. But that kind of love is beset with fear, and fear is part of hate. What we hate is the idea that this special person may die, walk away, have other feelings and thoughts. In other words, the fear that love may end, because we believe that love is situated strictly in that one person. Since there are 6 billion people on this planet, this is rather absurd. Yet most people think that our lovability is dependent upon one person, and having that one person near us. That creates the fear of loss, and love beset by fear cannot be pure. We create a dependency upon that person, and on his or her ideas and emotions. There is no freedom in that, no freedom to love. If we see quite clearly that love is a quality that we all have, then we can start developing that ability. Any skill that we have developed through practice. If we've learned to type, we've had to practice. We can practice love and eventually, we'll have that skill. Love has nothing to do with finding somebody who is worth loving, or checking out people to see whether they are truly lovable. If we investigate ourselves honestly enough, we find that we're not all that lovable either. So why do we expect somebody else to be totally lovable? It has nothing to do with the qualities of the other person, or whether he or she wants to be loved, is going to love us back, or needs love. Everyone needs love, because we know our own faults. When somebody loves us, we think, oh, that's great. This person loves me and doesn't even know I have all these problems. We're looking for somebody to love us, to support a certain image of ourselves. If we can't find anybody, we feel bereft. People even get depressed, or search for escape routes. These are wrong ways of going at it. On the spiritual path, there's nothing to get, and everything to get rid of. Obviously, the first thing to let go of is trying to get love, and instead to give it. That's the secret of the spiritual path. One has to give oneself wholeheartedly. Whatever we do half-heartedly brings half-hearted results. How can we give ourselves? By not holding back. By not wanting for ourselves. If we want to be loved, we are looking for a support system. If we want to love, we are looking for spiritual growth. Disliking others is far too easy. Anybody can do it and justify it because, of course, people are often not very bright and don't act the way we'd like them to act. Disliking makes grooves in the heart, and it becomes easier and easier to fall into these grooves. We not only dislike others, but also ourselves. If one likes or loves oneself, it's easier to love others, which is why we always start loving kindness, meditations with the focus on ourselves. That's not egocentricity. If we don't like ourselves because we have faults, or have made mistakes, we will transfer that dislike to others, and judge them accordingly. We are not here to be judge and jury. First of all, we don't even have the qualifications. It's also a very unsatisfactory job, doesn't pay, and just makes people unhappy. People often feel that it's necessary to be that way to protect themselves. But what do we need to protect ourselves from? We have to protect our bodies from injury. Do we have to protect ourselves from love? We are all in this together, living on this planet at the same time, breathing the same air. We all have the same limbs, thoughts, and emotions. The idea that we are separate beings is an illusion. If we practice meditation diligently with perseverance, then one day we'll get over this illusion of separation. Meditation makes it possible to see the totality of all manifestation. There is one creation and we are all part of it. What can we be afraid of? We are afraid to love ourselves, afraid to love creation, afraid to love others because we know negative things about ourselves. Knowing that we do things wrong, that we have unhappy or unwholesome thoughts, is no reason not to love. A mother who loves her children doesn't stop loving them when they act silly or unpleasant. Small children have hundreds of unwholesome thoughts a day and give voice to them quite loudly. We have them too, but we do not express them all. So, if a mother can love a child who is making difficulties for her, why can't we love ourselves? Loving oneself and knowing oneself are not the same thing. Love is the warmth of the heart, the connectedness, the protection, the caring, the concern, the embrace that comes from acceptance and understanding for oneself. Having practiced that, we are in a much better position to practice love toward others. They are just as unlovable as we are, and they have just as many unwholesome thoughts. But that doesn't matter. We are not judge and jury. When we realize that, we can actually love ourselves. There is a feeling of being at ease. We don't constantly have to become or pretend, or strive to be somebody. We can just be. It's nice to just be, and not be somebody. Love makes that possible. By the same token, when we relate to other people, we can let them just be and love them. We all have daily opportunities to practice this. It's a skill, like any other.